I would have given anything to have found somebody, especially a married couple like us, who made it through something like what we were living through. And I did. I found, little pieces of things along the way, but it's been 22 years. And I know just from the books I've read and the professionals that I've worked with that this is very extraordinary what's happened, that my husband has had a recovery. And also, it's very complicated already to have a long term marriage. And then it's very complicated to have a family that deals with brain injury. And it's complicated to be somebody who had a really big public career like I did, um, and do still, eh, in some ways. But you combine all those things, and um, I, like I said, I would give anything if there was somebody that I could watch and say, how did they do it? Even if it's not exactly the same. So that's why I'm doing this. The second one is because I don't quit, even though I wanted to quit today. Like I said, I was just like, this is so dumb. Why am I even doing this? But over the last couple years since my husband had this miraculous healing, and it wasn't, obviously I really believe it's supernatural in some ways, but it's also just very it's just a really cool modality that we found, and he's healed. But that's that we'll talk about that, and I wish that for everybody. But it's the nuances of what happens to your life when it doesn't go according to plan, and especially when I'm a sharer and I have shared everything. I started blogging, you know 2005. What is that? 20 years ago, and then social media comes, and I've been so public and open. I've been like this since I was young, but it was super fun to be public and open when I started blogging, because I was kind of like this wonder kid that, built these multi-million dollar companies in my 20s, and global brands, and I was winning awards for product development. I was just this kid from the country, and my husband was just like dropping everything to make all my dreams and wishes come true when we were in magazines, on TV shows. And it's a whole different thing when you're coming and talking about, the pit that you've been climbing yourself out of for, in lots of ways, decades, in some ways, years. It's why would we ever want to do that? And I, like I said, I've asked myself that over and over again, the last 24 hours. But I knew when I even wrote the title that, I'm done being in hiding. I knew over the last month that there are people that need to hear this story, and I need to tell this story, and my husband needs to tell this story. It's a beautiful story, and it's a complicated story, and I think it'll help a lot of people. But um I never in a million years would have thought that, when I was in my 20s and I had all my big dreams all the way back from when I was a kid, I never would have thought that I would be sitting here at 50, 54 years old, telling a story like this, and having my life in a place where it is right now. And I am glad I couldn't have dreamed that, because I don't know that I would ever have signed up for that. It's been hard, and it's been beautiful. And so I want to start there. I want to, and I bet it's true for you that your life is probably somewhere, um, that you didn't plan for. In fact, probably you planned for it to be somewhere very different. It's not even that you didn't plan and it just ended up somewhere. It's that lots of us went to the ends of the earth to make incredible plans and did everything we could for things to work out the way that we really wanted them to work out, especially if we have children and families, and there's a lot of people that you care about, and friends and communities. And um i I think, when I wrote that title that said, I'm done hiding out, I really had to sit here and grapple with, I was hiding out. Oh my gosh. I just thought that was a pretty catchy title, but then all night I was like, what was I hiding from? And why was I hiding? And I went back and watched the video, and it hit me really hard, something that I said. And it's the whole thing. It's the biggest reason of all. You might think that I was hiding out because it's so freaking humiliating to go through what we've gone through, to lose everything in front of everybody. It's like I said, it's really cool when you get to be successful and amazing in front of everybody. But the level of humiliation that you have to endure to rebuild your life after it crashes, is pretty intense, and something that man, whenever I see somebody that's in a humiliating situation, I just want to do everything I can to just go, even just sit next to them, because it's almost like when your life starts falling apart, there's people who think it's like contagious or something, and they don't even want to be affiliated with you anymore. That was an interesting thing I had to learn. So there's that. You could think that that's why I was hiding out, but that's, man, I've been building and rebuilding for 22 years now. There's that. You might think it's because I'm burned out, and sure, yeah, I get tired, but I'm an energizer bunny. I go and go and go, and I love to create new ideas and new things. So you might have thought it was because of that. You might have thought it was just because I was ready to have some peace and quiet and needed to just step away and rebuild life and never come back again. And because my career was built publicly from my mid 20s, um, that's where my people are. Not just the people that I love to serve, but the people that I love. Period. The people that I want to be with, globally. I was selling to little shops all over the world when I was in my 20s, and made friends all over the world with both the store owners and all the customers. And then, having my big women's organization, Brave Girls Club, know women and love them from all over the world. So there has been this contrasting desire to never be seen again, but also to not lose all those people in that community. And so that, you could say that was the reason. But having a prayer answered this big after 20 years, when really, like, even all the empirical data of people who've been through traumatic brain injuries, this isn't a normal outcome. And it's one that we have prayed for. um but I had no idea what it was really going to be like. I guess I thought maybe if this prayer was answered, you don't even realize that 5 years and 10 years and 20 and 15 years and 20 years, and suddenly 20 years have gone by. You don't even realize how much time that actually is. And when you first started saying the prayer and wishing for the wish, there's a part of you that's like, okay, as soon as this nightmare and this hell is over, we'll be able to go back to how things were. Okay, nothing on this planet is like it was 22 years ago. Nothing's like it was 5 years ago. I mean, think of everything that changed in 2020. So obviously, things can't go back to how they were. And also, we're not the same people. And I don't even know that we would choose for things to go back to how they were. But when you are spending so much time praying for something to be resolved or for something to be over, at least for me, I didn't go and analyze every year. Okay, if he does get better, this is what we'll do next. It was just like, that was the prayer, and that was the prayer, and that was the prayer at 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, 17 years, 20 years. And then at 20 years, suddenly my man is back. And I don't want to talk too much about what that is like for him to wake up from out of the hell that he's been in and actually be able to be coherent and in reality, and to see how much has burned down and changed in 20 years. But for me, it's a little bit different, and we'll be talking about that throughout the series. But when I said I'm done hiding out, and I asked myself what I've been hiding out from, I watched the video that I made yesterday. I watched it last night, and I almost didn't sleep last night because I of what I heard myself say. And it was just something I said right off the cuff, and it was that I'm just so tired of being the little boy who cried wolf. And that's really, after 22 years, that's still my biggest fear. Although a couple of months ago, I remember the week that I was like, I think this is real. I don't think he's going to relapse again. And that has changed everything. I have almost retreated more since he started, since his this miraculous healing and us rebuilding our life. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is because I don't want to miss one single second with him right now. Um, it takes a lot to get to know somebody again after 20 years, especially, the person that I became and had to become and chose to become to be able to do all of this is a really different than the young, innocent little country girl that I was when he had his accident. I'm different, and he's different, and the world is different, like I said, and our children are grown. We have 8 grandchildren, and it's wild. But the hiding out always boiled down to, what if I say that he's better and then he relapses again? And I think about all the people that I've known, and I'm even attracted to people like this now because I know what they're going through at some level. The people I've known who have chronic illnesses, or are with somebody who has a chronic illness, or addictions, or any kind of a chronic issue that creates relapse, there seems to be a level of what people can handle for how long. Like, when a tragedy happens, everybody shows up for a couple of years, and then it's just like it's old news, and almost like they're annoyed that you're still talking about it. I've had conversations like that with people, where they just kind of flat out said, "Why are you still talking about that?" And I'm like, "Well, just because I haven't talked to you in a while, and it hasn't been in your consciousness, in your daily life, this is still my life every single day. This is our life every single day." And it gets more and more complicated as the years go on, because we're getting older and the world is getting different. Like, the things that we used to be able to do to make a living, lots of them don't even exist anymore, and so then you got to figure something else out. And you're just running full steam ahead, and then he has relapse, and I've got to stop everything I'm doing, and he can't help me with anything he's doing. And it just feels like our life has just been all these starts and stops and starts and stops, to the point where we don't look like reliable, dependable people, because we're not. I think the only thing that you can rely on and depend on with us is that our life's going to be pretty chaotic because of what's going on, and that's hard. But the thing that um I just I want to say it a few times again, and then I'll try not to say it anymore, is I am so sorry if I ever cried wolf to you and said things are better and things are going to get better and I'm going to be able to show up more and everything like that, because I promise you, I really, really believed it. And that's why when he started to recover a couple of years ago in such an enormous way, I sort of pulled back the most, because I was so suspicious and I didn't want to tell anybody. And like I said, I was also kind of greedy. I wanted to, every moment of it, I wanted to keep to myself. And we'll be talking about that through the series, about the times when he was better, and how that felt so frantic, um when he would have times of recovery that would last a day or a week, sometimes a couple weeks. The frantic, um, almost like there was a tiny little trickle of a faucet and you haven't had a drink for so long, and you are not going to go away from that faucet when it's dripping a little bit of water. You're not going to go away because you've been just about to die. And so that's how it would be. It would be, we're going along, and we're having getting comfortable with how our life is. Even though it's really really hard, and then all of a sudden he's better, and it's almost like you go into a more frantic state. So um that's what I wanted to talk about today. I'm just gonna sit down and I'm gonna talk about this every day for a month. I'm doing this for myself, mostly to overcome my own fear. I'm doing this to clarify what's important about this story. I'm doing this to come out of hiding, but I had to figure out like how to eliminate the shame of that word that I was in hiding. You know, I don't want to feel shame. I don't want to feel sad. Like, that's one thing I want you to know too is like, Mark and I are done being sad. We're done being a project, we're done being the broken people. We're done being everything that we've had to be for the last 22 years. We're so grateful and have so much joy, and kind of just want to move forward, but also this story needs to be told because so thousands of people were praying for us for all these years, and then I haven't even talked about the result of your prayers. And I'm not doing it from a sense of obligation. I'm doing it because, like I said, I would have given anything to hear a story like this, when our life was so torn apart, and all of the statistics are saying it's only going to get worse. I never believed that for a minute. I just wouldn't believe that there wasn't a way, and that's why I kept praying. But the way that it has been since the miracle happened wasn't like what I thought it was going to be. It's getting to the most exquisitely beautiful place, like I said. But those first 6 months after he got better were some of the hardest months of my life. The conversations that we had to have, and the way that he woke up and started realizing some things, but not realizing them from my perspective. And how I had to, we just had to really be patient with each other, and be really patient with the process. And even though there were probably times where we were like, why did we pray for this? We were comfortable with how hard things were. Now we just, life is so exquisite. Like, I don't even know how to put into words what it's like, to be just sitting in a normal day and hear my husband across the house laughing, a real laugh. There's all sorts of different kinds of laughs, but a laugh when it's real. Or to hear him outside working and whistling, and knowing that that comes from an authentic place. These are things that I hope to never take for granted ever again. But it's a lot to ask you to sit through these conversations, and you might want to, and you might not want to, but I'm going to make these. I'm been sitting in, this is called the healing house. I made this house for the healing of others because I still have beautiful retreats, and this is where a lot of our guests stay. But I've been staying here for a month, um, to get myself ready to start doing this, and to really let myself feel what I need to feel. And I I'm so excited. I don't want to share too much of it yet. I'm excited to have this story unfold with you, and I appreciate it. If you're here for this second very unscripted video, I'm grateful that you're here. And I don't know what I'm going to talk about tomorrow. I'll figure it out. But soon it'll be Mark and I on the screen, talking about what this experience has been like from all the way back to now. And I know you're gonna love this story. So I'm gonna go make some art. I'm gonna try not to have a vulnerability hangover over everything that I just shared, and I'm just gonna keep doing this. I got my first thumbs down, I noticed on YouTube today, and so I'm gonna give myself a gold star for making it through that. I'll show you my gold star chart sometime this week. But I'm 55 ish, almost starting over, and this is what it's like. And I'd love to hear what it's like for you too. Let's help each other through all this. I love you.